Welcome back to another installment of SOC Chat, where we talk to some of our favorite poker players and poker vloggers. In this episode, we talk to none other than Mr. Johnnie Vibes. And we talk about everything from working with casinos to building a brand to some of his investment projects as of late. We even get into some of the controversy he's been involved in, as well as the upcoming meetup game on the East Coast. So stick around for all those details. It's going down.
Stacking on chips high, macking and we get fly. Stacking on chips, gonna push all in, gonna push foreign, all in.
What is going on, Johnnie Vibes? How are you doing today?
So how's it going, guys? How's
Hi,
the
Johnny.
audio? How's the video? Everything's good?
Yeah, you're coming in good.
You sound good.
All right.
And the lighting is perfect on your end.
What's up, Keith? I'm jealous of your on location vacation spot there.
Yeah, right. It's a virtual background, you know that. You're probably in somewhere that looks real, like close to this in real life.
No, I spend a lot of time on Zoom, so I've seen that one a time or two.
Yeah, this is basic. But hey, once we get to 1,000 subscribers, we can go live, and I can do some fancier stuff with the other broadcast software, you know. But for now, I'm stuck with the default package with Zoom.
It's all
Nice.
good. It's working out great so far.
Are you on the East Coast?
Yeah, we're all in New York.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say your accent is definitely a New York accent.
I have an accent.
I'm surprised by that, honestly, Johnny.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, this is kind of unique for someone to say that. Is it amongst all of us?
I would say so. I heard it more pronounced than Keith, but
Oh, damn. All right, so let me give the introduction here. So everyone, obviously this is Johnnie Vibes. We have myself, the poker robot. We have Keith, which is the gentleman on vacation right now with the palm trees in the back. He's a cash game slash tournament vlogger slash grinder, trying to get it. And then we have a great friend of ours, Panda. He's a cash game. He tends to play a little higher than my comfort level, and we are based in New York, and we grind the East Coast games as much as we can. So that's a little introduction to who we are.
what's up, guys? Nice to meet you guys.
Likewise, and thank you so much for taking the time out for this meeting.
Sure.
It really means a lot to us small vloggers out there to be able to catch a whale, essentially. So thank you for taking
Give
the
me a
time with
shark.
us.
Catch a shark.
Catch a shark.
No,
Yes.
no, I want to be a whale. My aspirations are to be a whale.
That mean you make it. That mean you made it, right?
That
Yeah.
means you made it. Yeah.
All right, so this is just basically a run and gun interview style, and we're just gonna be throwing some questions at you and hope to get some honest answers, and I guess we'll start it off. So with the group Johnnie Vibes Poker Squad, and with helping people with, I think the gentleman's name was Glenn, where you took him under your wing and showed him certain poker strategies. It seems like you have this infinity to help poker players reach the next level. I think that's brilliant. I love it. Is there any chance that we will be getting a Johnnie Vibes poker book or a Johnnie Vibes masterclass?
No Johnny Vibes masterclass coming. I do like helping people, but the process of like becoming so skilled in something that you create a masterclass or write a book or something like that, it's just not really where my interest lies right now. You know, there was a time where I was over the top obsessed about poker. You know, I've been in the game for 14 years grinding it out. So my interest in other things has started to grow over, you know, I'm entering a new phase of my life where, you know, I'm not spending all of my time at a poker table anymore. So there will never be a Johnny Vibes masterclass on poker, or even I thought about making a spoof video on a how to be a poker vlogger masterclass. I thought that could be fun. That still might happen, but nothing serious, nothing nothing that is going to be like overly educational. I like keeping it light on my channel, and I throw in, strategy from here to there, but I don't really talk about a hand for more than 45 seconds. But if I'm, talking strategy with my brother, we're really going deep into a hand. Sometimes we'll talk about one street for 45 minutes. So, that gives you kind of the level of depth that I go in on my channel versus, in my personal game.
Now that you mentioned your brother, I was watching an episode where you mentioned that he was instrumental in you becoming serious about poker and even your poker success. Can you
Yeah, I
talk
mean,
about that?
100%. I have like pretty much everything I owe it all to him because I feel like a lot of times people are a victim to their circumstance, good and bad. If you grow up in a good household, things are likely going to turn out good for you. If you have a tough childhood, it might be the opposite. So my circumstance was that my brother was so passionate about poker, and because he was so passionate about it, it rubbed off on me. Like I wasn't the one that sought poker out. I wasn't the one that saw it on ESPN, saw Chris Moneymaker win, and was like, I need to do this. That was my brother. And because my brother and I were so close in age, close in friendship, his passion for the game kind of rubbed off on me in a time where I was in the corporate world and didn't think that gambling ever had a spot in my future. So if it wasn't for him, there's no chance that I would be a poker player. Also, I've had some, down moments where he's helped me out. He's given me money. Like he's loaned me. I remember one time he loaned me $16,000 because I didn't pay my taxes. And I was like, you're supposed to pay your taxes when you play poker. And, I spent all my money, and then it was like tax bill came and I was like, oh, I don't have that money. So Andrew's like, don't worry, I got you. He loaned me the money to pay my taxes, and I vowed to never make that mistake again. And then, yeah, so there's been numerous times where, there's been times because grown up in the game together where he's had his rough goes of it and I've loaned him money too. But we never had a rough go of it at the exact same time, which has helped us create a long lasting legacy within poker.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah.
I was going to touch on that, your origin story, but I'm very curious to know how you came or landed about the name Johnnie Vibes, because that is not your name. I'm very interested in the origin of the actual name. Can you
Your name
speak
is
to
not
that?
Johnny?
No, my name is actually Johnny. So,
Oh.
I when I first started playing poker, my name was Antonio or Tony, but that's actually my middle name. I moved to California in probably 10 years ago. I was living in Vegas for the first 5 years of my poker career. And then at that point, I moved to California in search of bigger games, in search of softer games. And I was playing at Ocean's 11, and we had our players card, and we had to like leave our players card on the table because every hour they would come by and scan it. And it was important to get your scans because they were giving away all kinds of money like every month for a number of hours played. And I was playing, 150 hours a month. So I was like making a lot of rake back. But on my players card, it said Johnny, because that's my actual first name. So everybody, I was there all the time. I was making new friends in California. Everybody saw my name on the poker table as Johnny. And I couldn't be like, no, actually, my name's Tony. I've always gone by my middle name. My dad's name is Johnny. So I was his junior. So I always went by my middle name. But then by accident, everyone started calling me Johnny. And then when I started creating content, I just went with what everybody knew me as, Johnny. And then my last name is Marino. And I just wasn't very catchy, and I should go with something that people know me for. And at the time, I had a clothing brand that I was like trying to get off the ground that had the word vibes in it. So I just took that clothing brand name and then combined it with my first name and created Johnnie Vibes. I had no idea that it was going to be some like, thing where people would follow me on social media and everybody would start to know me as JV or Johnnie Vibes or things like that. So there was no foresight involved with it. It was just, oh, let's pick a name for YouTube kind of thing.
And the logo is JV, right?
Yeah. So, well, it's like a V, but it kind of looks like a J and a V kind of all in one.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Thanks, man. Yeah. It's been fun to just have people recognize me and be able to be a positive impact on people's lives, something that I just never expected to happen. You know, when you start creating social media content when you're in your late 30s, mid to late 30s, you don't have the goal of being like a social media influencer. It's just one of those things that you're like, I feel like kids grow up with that goal, you know, like, you know, they start their TikToks and they're like, I want to be social media famous. But when you're in your late 30s, you don't really have that foresight that like, I'm gonna, you know, create something and be quote unquote like an influencer in poker.
Whose vlog came first where you saw and you were like, I'd like to do that as well?
Well, Christy, is my sister-in-law, my brother's wife, Christy Arnett, and
Oh,
she was making content for Poker News, and she was kind of in the creative space with making videos. So she was kind of the first one that, you know, opened my eyes to like just creating videos in general. I thought it was like something kind of fun and something I took an interest with. I would like watch how she would create the videos. And then when I saw Andrew Nemi doing that, I was like, this is a guy that I know that I used to see in Vegas all the time because we kind of grew up in the same Vegas circles,
hmm.
who's doing something that looks like a lot of fun. And he's doing a great job. And I feel like I could do something like this and do just as good a job, if not better job. So I took it as a challenge to like challenge myself to create fun, captivating, fun videos.
I just wanted to say that the quality of your videos is like, A1, like very professional. Are you like a photographer or videographer or anything like that?
No, man, it's what happened is it's kind of like the same way that we get involved with poker, right? Like we see poker and we think that it would be interesting, and then all of a sudden we realize that there's so much more to it. And if we want to be great at it, we need to obsess about it. So we start spending all of our time, you know, figuring out these little like pre-flop stuff and like what board textures do I want to see bet on when it's heads up, when I'm in position. Like you just go down this rabbit hole of wanting to become so good at poker. I'm
Mhm.
sure you guys have all felt this at one point. Same thing happened with me with creating videos. It was like I started creating a video and then I was like, my audio is not so good. Like, let's figure out how to make better audio. My lighting isn't the best because like my face is blown out. Like, let's make it like better lighting. So it's the same thing with poker. I just started obsessing about it and wanting to make better and better and better videos after like getting involved in something that I was passionate about.
It's interesting that you say that, Keith, because one of my questions or, you know, questions would be is related to that. And essentially anytime, so you know, we subscribe to different poker vloggers, but every time a Johnnie Vibes video comes out, it's of a different standards, of a different quality. It almost has a cinematic sense to it.
Yeah.
And so when I watch your videos, I know that I'm going to get a top class, top notch video in comparison to some of these other vloggers. So it's funny that you touched upon that, Keith.
Hmm.
Thank you for that. Because
Kudos.
I obviously it means a lot for me to create, you know, the highest quality that I'm capable of creating. So when someone recognizes it up here, that means a lot. So thanks.
Hmm. Um,
Absolutely.
Panda, do you have anything to contribute tonight?
Yeah, I got a couple of things. So, um, talk about video quality. I mean, nowadays, I think people love Mariano.
Yes.
Definitely one of the most. How much did you think you help him and improving on those quality? And he called these short film by Mariano's, and it's funny
Yeah.
that he actually wanted your old camera,
Yeah.
although he's
Yeah.
100% do not need it.
Oh,
Yeah.
what
So
camera
funny.
are you using, by the way?
So that's another thing. Like as when I first started out, I was using a Canon G7X, the same one that Andrew was using, same one that all the guys were using. I think it was like a $600 or $700 camera. It's a point and shoot. It's small, so it fits in your hand. You can easily take it into places and not feel like too intrusive with it because at first like you kind of had to like do it on the sly. Like you don't want people to know that you're doing it because the casino might kick you out for, you know, filming in the casino. But since I've wanted to elevate my content and get higher quality videos, I've upgraded and I've, you know, given away my old cameras on my channel. I upgraded to a Canon EOS M50. That whole setup was like $1,000 setup, and I use that for the bulk of my channel. And then in the last 4 months, I upgraded to a Sony A7S III, which is like an insane camera. It's like with the lens and everything, it's close to $5,000. Like
Oof.
I'm not even good at like maxing the capabilities of the camera, but and it's also kind of big. It's like hard to take into like casinos and not be like, what is that guy carrying around? So it's kind of a curse, wanting to get better equipment, because it generally doesn't mean that it's as portable or as practical.
Well, you are Johnny Vibes, and chances are they might have heard of you. So maybe it's okay. I don't know.
Yeah. So nowadays, the casinos ask me to film. Yeah, it's crazy. When I
There
first
you
started
go.
doing it, they were like, trying to block people from filming.
Mhm.
But if a casino allows me to come in and film, it's really good for them, because I'm going to make a video about it. 50,000 people plus are going to see that video. I'm going to paint the casino in most likely a positive light, especially if you're letting me film there. So it's like a win-win. Like I get to make content, they get to have promotion for their property, and if they let me do a meetup game, that's even a bigger win, because now they'll compensate me to come and play, and I also get to connect with all the people that watch my content. So it's like, and they don't have to pay to come hang out, like the casino's paying it. So
Right.
it's like they're funding me connecting with the audience. It's a win-win.
You're touching on all the pertinent points.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talk about we actually have an interview Ethan last week, and we actually talk about how much of a benefit that uh the number of customer he brought into like Boston Billiard, because Boston Billiard let him film as opposed to some of the other New Hampshire card room places. So that we just thought it's a win-win situation, and we can't believe some of the other casino are just not doing that.
Yeah, I mean, we're also like the vloggers that have a lot of attention and that can bring a lot of people into the casinos. We do it for next to nothing. Like we're not getting paid a lot, and they're getting so much value from us. In any other industry, if you wanted an influencer to make a post or do a meetup, they would be charging tens of thousands of dollars for that.
Oh,
But like
y-
we don't do that.
yeah,
It's like very affordable for the casinos.
yeah.
We do it for next to nothing.
I I heard it's like 5 figure for just even one post of a picture, like
Yeah,
for
yeah,
a
that's
product.
how it is. That's how the landscape is on Instagram. It's changing a little bit, but a couple of years ago, if you had followers on Instagram, one post, if you let's say you had 100,000 followers on Instagram and you had 10,000 people that watch your story, that will command probably around $4,000 for a single post. So if that kind of gives you an idea of like how underpaid the vloggers are in terms of we're not making a post, we're making a 20-minute video, and we're bringing in 25 people that would not normally have come to your casino to play and gamble.
Let's unionize. Come on, fellas.
Seriously.
I'm working on something.
Yeah,
All right,
totally.
so Johnny, before coronavirus hit, you were putting out a substantial amount of videos. Oh, a lot basically.
Yeah, yeah.
And then post corona, obviously your video output has dwindled because of health reasons, and with you getting corona adding to the effect. My question is, how has business been for you? Because I know you've switched to the online vector to sort of compensate for the loss of live play.
Yeah. No, I mean it was scary, because when everything happened, like everything was such an unknown back then. Like we didn't know how dangerous it was. Like we were just seeing people falling over in China. So like we literally had no idea what was going on. And I had a feeling that I wasn't going to be able to play live poker for a while. And that's how I make money. Like live poker is my living. So I was nervous, but I immediately just went to work online and started playing online poker. And thankfully, like my I'm like good enough to win online, and I was a little nervous about that, because everybody has this thought that online is so tough, And it is tough. It's much tougher than live, but partially because of all the new money that was coming in online at that time, nobody was playing live. So people that probably should not have been playing online were playing online. It helped me make a very good living for those first couple months, and really bailed me out in a lot of ways. And yeah, so I kind of just went into grind mode, which meant for me was like playing poker and not making content. Making content is fun and all, but it doesn't really pay the same way as actually playing poker. And also during that time, I started to develop some interest in some other things. I started really getting into cryptocurrency, started like studying the stock market a little bit more. Lately, I've been really into NFTs. So yeah, my dream has always been to be a professional poker player, and I kind of achieved that dream for the better part of 10 plus years. And now the dream is to have some balance in my life and to be a semi-professional poker player who, every once in a while when I go to bed, I wake up with more money in my bank account because of the stuff that I've done on the side. It's always been, I have to go to the poker table to make money. The dream is that I don't have to do that all the time. I think it's kind of an interesting thing, because most people, when they start out playing poker, they're like, the dream is to be a professional poker player, which is like no different than myself. But I think once you reach a certain point, then the dream is to become the whale or to become the semi-professional.
Magnificently stated. um, so you seem to be one to incubate excellence in poker players. So like I said prior, you have the Johnnie Vibes poker squad. When you try to have this form where it's more of an educational tool as opposed to bad beat stories or things like that. It's really meant to improve the poker players. Can you give us a little bit more on that line? What's the future? Is there a linear direction that you're heading with that train of thought?
Yeah, so initially that started out because when I first started to gain a lot of popularity, a lot of people were recognizing that I had been a professional poker player for a long time. So as such, they wanted to run hand histories by me. So I was getting so many hand histories to my Instagram direct messages. It was crazy, like 10 plus a day. And obviously, like, I can't respond to all those. I can't even read all of those. And I like to be able to interact with people and like respond to my DMs. But when they get cluttered with hand histories, it made it hard to sift through like who's actually wanting to say hi and who's like asking me for a hand history. So I was like, I need a place where everybody can just post their hand history. And that way my DMs and messages aren't cluttered with them. And now it's all organized in one place. So it was more of solving a need and it just so happened to build a community at the same time. And now, like, if somebody sends me a hand history, I'm like, post this on Facebook,
Are
Pretty
these
good.
the same individuals in your quarantine home game as well?
Yeah, so I would say that I've really started to develop a community of guys who really support me through anything. Like, I make a hoodie, they buy it. I start a Johnnie Vibes poker squad. They're in there posting hands. I have my weekly meetup. They're in there, week to week playing in that. So some people only partake in the Facebook. Some people only buy merch. Some people only play in the weekly meetup. Some people only watch the vlogs and comment on the vlogs. But I have people that do all of the above. So there's something for everyone if they want to engage in some way. So I wouldn't say that they're all Facebook people. It's just people kind of gravitate to what they want to participate in.
What are the stakes at your weekly mug?
With the stakes, 1-2.
One,
It's
two?
1-2 with a $100 minimum buy-in and a $300 maximum buy-in.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to do a fair amount of calling in there. Like, I splash around, I drink. My normal game is to not call very much. I like to be the aggressor in a lot of situations. So this is kind of like my one day a week to kind of just relax. And the weekly meetup is less about me trying to make money in poker and more about connecting with the community, talking about the stock market, talking about your picks this week in crypto, talking about like what NFTs you're looking at. Like it's like a guys' night where we talk about things that guys talk about, you know. It's like the weekly home game that people used to do in their basements that they're
Sure,
doing on Zoom, you
sure.
know.
I know all about that.
Yeah.
Are you is that game locked or is it open?
No,
How
it's
to
open. People
yeah?
rotate in and out of the game. We got guys that come in and play like every single week. We
Hmm.
got guys that show up once a month. We got guys that show up once every 3 months, you know, depending on what their schedule is. So,
How does one get
uh,
down with that?
yeah, so all you got to do is send me a message to any of my social medias. I'm pretty good about checking my social media channels. And then I'll give you a link to my Telegram. We organize everything on Telegram, so it's all in one place.
Sure. All right, cool, cool.
I'll say this, Johnny. I have been in contact with you for a while, and you have been amazingly gracious in responding, not only promptly, but just in general, just an over generosity in what we talk about. And speaking of this, there was one vlog that you did when you were in Mexico City, and you played this insane, wild nightclub game. And my wife is Mexican, and we were traveling to Mexico City, and I reached out to you through Instagram to see how I could get into this game or what the logistics were. But
Yeah.
speaking on this Mexican game, to me, that's one of the wildest concepts or poker games that I've seen. From your experience, what is the wildest game? What is your craziest experience in that matter?
So you're probably right, to be honest. Like just the whole thing that led up to that game, you know, being in Mexico City, riding in the back of a black SUV with tinted windows to get there, being frisked on the way in because like there's security guards out front. The courtyard where there's like it's like hacienda style, like all the things that led into that game, you know, the bartender girls that are making micheladas and everything, like them like turning the lights on and having like disco balls going. It's just everything about that game was interesting because it was a new culture that I had never really uh, played poker in. And secondly, just because it was like, it felt really like underground. Like I'm sure you guys in New York have had a lot of experience with interesting underground type games. I've never really done that because by the time that I always had a game, like, because I lived in Vegas and I lived in Southern California. So I always had a casino game. But then once the game started to dry up a little bit and I wanted to play a little bit bigger, then these home games started coming on my radar. So I've more been open to them in the last couple of years, but it's been a new thing for me. I've always been a casino guy.
The casino route is definitely safer when it comes to security. And us being in New York, there are some underground games and some, I don't want to say risky situations, but abnormal situations. And that
Yeah.
video just reminded me of how wild it is, but also how receptive you are to like talking to random, because we've never met before, and all of a sudden I'm asking you about this Mexico City game, and I thought that was very nice of you. So thank you for that.
Thanks, man. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like I am at a level now where I could reach out to everyone that messages me. You know, it's like right on the border where if I got like 2 times the number of messages that I currently get, it would be infinitely harder. So given that, I would be nothing without the people that watch my content. Like I would have no social media. So for me to not respond to people just makes no sense to me. Like the reason why I get to be on this podcast, the reason why you even want me on your podcast is because I make content and like you have been supporting that content. So like when you send me a message, the least I can do is like, you know, genuinely respond to it.
Awesome.
And we really appreciate that. So
Yeah.
just want to say that.
By the way, the Hartford Whalers aren't a thing anymore, right?
They're not, unfortunately. No, no, but it's my team. I'm
They
still
should bring
sticking
them
with
back.
it.
They should bring them back. I've been really getting into hockey lately because of the Golden Knights.
They actually tried a couple of times since the Whaler left Hartford.
Hmm.
There was a Danbury Whalers, and then they tried. We did a New England Whalers in like a lower league, but all of them folded so far. Sad. Sorry, I got really sad there. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Keith, you have any questions lined up?
Okay. Can you talk to us about Embrace the Grind? Your
Yeah.
podcast?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So Embrace the Grind initially was I played, I did a series where I played 30 days in a row, um, averaging 5 hours a day. And I wanted to see what an average hourly at like a 2-5 game would be for just if I just like went every single day. And I predicted that it was going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of like $50 an hour. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I think it was like $52 an hour or something like that. So it was pretty close. But that kind of blew up my channel. Like a lot of people watched that, and I kind of became known for Embrace the Grind. So when I really started piquing my interest in these other things, I knew that I couldn't really talk about them on my Johnnie Vibes channel, because if I did, people would be upset. They'd be like, "We want to hear about hand histories in poker. We don't want to hear about you know, interviewing a guy that's doing a stock market thing, you know, like." So I knew that I was going to have to create a second channel. And when I created the second channel, I'm like, Embrace the Grind just makes so much sense to me. It's like, it's kind of become what I've been known for. I love the connotation of what it is. It's like, if you want to get good at anything, you have to embrace the grind that takes to become good at that. So it's something that I've resonated with, and I wanted it to be a part of like my Johnnie Vibes brand. So it was a no-brainer when I picked the name for the second channel. It's been fun. I've been talking to my brother on a weekly basis, interviewing guys that I've known from my previous from them previously being in poker and playing poker with them, who have moved on to like real estate, stock market, you know. So it's been fun to connect with them and get like a different perspective, because I honestly at the now I'm just really starting to get immersed into all things like hustling and making money. Like everything kind of interests me now. I feel like as poker players we have that inside of us, like the hustle part of making a living through hustling kind of just spills over into all these other aspects, and we're like looking for like little angles to like make money here and there, you know.
Sound like Ethan.
Yeah.
Are you on TikTok as well?
So Ethan has inspired me a lot, actually.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Like
Yes.
he's on TikTok, you know, making, and I feel like it would be easy for me to just translate hands from my YouTube videos and just splice them out into TikTok. I think I've uploaded 4 TikToks and they've been viewed over 100,000 times. So the algorithm is fast tracking me.
Guys, we got to get on this. Come
Yeah.
on. I'm going to repurpose some things. Maybe I'll make a TikTok by next week. I got to do this.
TikTok.
It was
That's good, I
interesting.
guess.
Like Ethan's most viral hand that he posted was a hand where he like raised and like flopped nothing and check folded. So it
He
doesn't
told
even
us.
matter what doesn't even matter what the content is.
Right, right. Yeah. So regarding your set on Embrace the Grind, I saw the episode with Olga.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was explaining her
That one
background,
hit
and
the algorithm liked that one for some reason and showed it to a lot of people.
I was really impressed with the set. I know that's basic, that's real basic stuff, but you had a set, a very, very nice decor. You had a number of camera angles, you know, very professionally done, man. So kudos to you. You really take the time to learn, I guess, framing and
Yeah, I mean,
all sorts of stuff.
all that stuff is a learning process, man. Like
Hmm.
just knowing you know, what camera angles like look the best, which where to place the plant in the background. Do I want to blur the plant out? You know, where do I like, do we do lapel mics or do I set up microphones? Like how do we plug this into the computer so we get the most best sounding audio, like everything, like lighting. I even had an issue with the lighting because the glass in the background, the light was like reflecting off of the glass.
Mm.
But because I was able to blur the background a little bit, it actually created kind of a nice ambiance. So I kind of liked it. And these are all things that like I wouldn't think about when I first started creating content. But like I'm sure that you didn't think about which board textures you were going to see bet after
Mhm.
raising pre with ace king when you first started playing poker. You probably
Right.
just looked to see if there was an ace or a king on the flop. But
Mhm.
as you progress, you're like the nuances of creating a set, the nuances of which boards you're going to see bet become
Mhm.
more crystal clear in your mind.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Panda, you have anything
Which,
for
by
us?
the way, thanks for watching that.
I'm
It's
a
a new
fan.
channel, so
I think we're all
yeah,
fans
yeah.
here. Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, I
100%,
appreciate that. And by
definitely.
the way, I'm gonna be coming to Boston Billiards Club with Rampage.
You're the
Uh,
secret guest.
You see, he didn't let us know. He said a
yeah,
mystery
well, it
vlogger.
just got announced. It just got
Okay.
announced. Yeah, so
Cool.
I haven't really told anybody yet. So this is kind of like me telling people.
Wow.
So
We're
Insane.
honored.
I'll,
Wow.
Thank you.
I'll make sure to do a swipe up on this interview I'll make sure to do a swipe up on this interview on Instagram when you guys release it. So
Right.
Sure.
people can find
Awesome.
out about Boston Billiards Club. It's going to be Memorial Day weekend.
Wow.
Awesome.
Memorial Day weekend.
We've been dropping breaking news left and right.
Yeah, exactly.
For Sir Jamin moving to Vegas.
Yep.
Oh man. I think should I be back from I'm going to Panama. I should be back. Okay.
I've been to
I can't
Panama.
miss this. Hmm?
I've been to Panama. I played poker in Panama, actually. They have a nice casino there.
Do you know the name of it? Can you recall?
Yes, it's called something, I want to say Soul. No, now I'm thinking of Solaire, which is in Philippines. I'll figure out the name of it and I'll let you know.
How long
But
ago were you there?
it was right when quarantine happened.
Oh, okay.
We were in Panama, and I was playing in a poker tournament in Panama.
Mm.
It was like $1,000 buy-in, so it was a big tournament. And then I started to hear news about uh, COVID, and like Tom Hanks has COVID and like all these things, and I was like, I got to get back to the United States. So we left from Panama and came back.
It's funny that you say that, you're looking up essentially to Tom Hanks, like, oh no, Tom Hanks has COVID, but it was essentially the same thing with you. I'm like, oh no, Vibes has COVID. It's funny how weirdly linear or, this
Yeah,
is.
my COVID experience actually wasn't too bad. Like I was sick for one day and then I felt fine afterwards. But I will say 4 months later, I've had a couple issues with brain fog. And I don't know if that's just me turning 40, which I did a couple weeks ago, or that might be some lingering effects of COVID. Like who knows? But I definitely have like noticed some brain fog stuff.
Blame it on the age.
Yeah, seriously.
All right, Johnny, is there any way we could get an update on, I believe the guy's name was Glenn, and also I'm curious to know about a few vlogs prior, you were talking about the contest and that there was a homeless gentleman that you were looking to help. Is there any updates on either of these two gentlemen?
So Glenn is, if you guys watched that series, Glenn had a long way to go, and he kind of recognized that he had a long way to go, and he's still working on his game, but he's focusing more on tournaments now and his business. So he never turned into a professional poker player, but I think it was a great experience for him. It was a great experience for me because whenever you have someone who is a challenge, that's how I'm going to grow as like a friend. That's how I'm going to grow as a coach. So I almost like, I feel blessed that I had someone who was a little bit more difficult to work with in that sense. I think it created for better content too, honestly. And then for the homeless person, I didn't want I didn't want him to be the person that I staked because I just felt like he had so much to work on outside of his, I didn't want to like enable someone to play poker when they're homeless. I felt like he had more to work on versus actually winning that competition. So I sent him a laptop, gave him a free subscription to um, Solve for Why. Solve for Why was gracious enough to give him a free lifetime subscription. So now he gets to have a computer and just consume more poker content because that at the end of the day, that's what he loved.
And what I'm seeing is the overall theme of all these poker vloggers is excessive generosity. So thank you for that, Johnny.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, man. And I honestly, I don't look at it as like generosity because I get something out of it too. Like helping other people, it makes me feel good inside, number one. And number two, like it grows my channel, like the everything that I've done has brought awareness to my channel. And I'd be lying to say if it was just like I'm just like this altruistic person and like the only reason I do things is to help other people. No, like I get joy out of it too. There's rewards that come to it for me. So it's yes, it's been great, but it's also served the channel really well as well.
I got one more heavy hitting question. I'm a little nervous about asking this question,
Oh
honestly.
man, no questions are off limits for me. I don't care. I
Okay.
everything is truth for me.
All right. So now that the dust has kind of settled, considering the moral markup police situation, and you kind of proven your weight against Sean Deeb, I'm going through your Twitter feed and I kind of see maybe a little needle towards Doug Polk. Can we expect any sort of proposition bet against Polk, or is there any rivalry, or even further than that, is there anything you would like to say to Sean Deeb and or Doug Polk regarding this whole, I don't want to say scandal, but this
Yeah.
egregious misunderstanding in your intent?
Yeah. So I think I've kind of come to the realization that, I want to be this person that just rises above and doesn't hear haters and doesn't hear like criticism and just like is so confident in myself that I can just never respond. But there's this piece inside of me that I hate bullies. And if I think someone is a bully, the only people that I ever respond to that are people that have like a huge platform and that I deem are bullies. And so that's why I've thought Sean Deeb was obviously a bully and I was going to respond to him. That's why I think Doug Polk is a bully and I'll respond to him. Bully too. Like one is belittling other people. Like I think it's just like the older brother in me. Like I hate it. If I'm at the poker table and I see a player berating a dealer, like I white knight the dealer. Like I stand up for the dealer and I say something to the player. So it's kind of always been a part of me. And to be honest, like I probably should not do that. I should probably just let people be a bully. It's not none of my business. So I'm working on that. I'm working on not white knighting everyone and just letting Doug Polk be a bully and letting Sean Deeb have his opinions and not handling it. So it's taking some growth on my part, but and I'm not all the way there yet. But in a perfect world, I would just ignore the bullies and just let it go.
Now, I'm definitely a huge fan of Tim Watts, the Trooper 97, and he actually mentioned something not naming you, and I actually had no idea that this was towards you, and I kind of respected his view on the situation, and his view, which I agree with, is basically if you as a poker player are offering this and you set the price at whatever it is, you know, it's not a scandal. It's not you being fraudulent towards players. You're setting the price. You're doing all the work. You're putting all of the education that goes into playing the game, and whatever the markup is, if you could, it's just like capitalism. If you could get that money, you know, based on your value, based on your knowledge, and there's nothing wrong with that if people are willing to pay. And with that being said, if you are opening up a stake anytime soon, I would love to throw in and kick in some money if you're going to be doing the main events, no matter what the markup is.
No, I really appreciate that. And I mean, I agree with that as well. I think that we live in a capitalistic society and so I agree that the market is the market, but I do hear criticisms of people taking advantage and trying to, make money in spots that are, you know, less than ethical. And in this case, I just don't think that that was this, because my price wasn't even that high. Like, I don't think people realize that the price that I was charging, that price is met and exceeded by 90% of the poker players that are professionals that are playing in the main event. Like, people are selling for 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, and they get that all day in the main event. But I sell for 1.38. And because Sean Deeb thinks that I'm a YouTuber and like not a poker player, he
Right.
was casting in doubt that I should be able to charge that. And to be honest, like, I thought I was worth that. And I proved that I was. You know, the people that bought a piece of me, I think I made like 60% return. So I exceeded the 1.38 markup, and everybody that bought a piece made money off of me. But nobody was there at the end of the day to say, you know, Sean never apologized to say, hey, I was wrong. You know, everybody that bought a piece of you made money. How can it be a scam when I'm taking people's money and I'm giving them more money in return?
Right. It's
Like,
just
how can that be a scam?
it's a horrible horrible thing that I thought that happened. And then even when I pull up your profile and your wins, you're definitely breaking it in, as you know, from my concern, from a tournament standpoint, you definitely have a lot of wins under your belt. You are mainly a cash player, and
Yeah.
maybe
The
that's what
interesting thing about that is that that tournament, like Hendon Mob entries, like that's literally, I don't play tournaments. So like, I've done really well in the small sample size of tournaments that I've played. Like, having 100 and whatever, 15,000, 20,000 in tournament caches, I don't know what it is really good, considering that I haven't I haven't bought in that much, you know. For someone like, you know, that plays a lot of tournaments, 100 and something $1,000 in tournament earnings is nothing. But they've also bought in $1 million worth of tournament earnings. It's just like, it's hard to say.
if it's any consolation, I have your back, and I'm sure that Keith and Panda also have your back in this issue, and that it's really not an issue. It's just a misproportionate, blown out of turn situation by a bully, as you stated.
Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate that.
100%.
But I don't actually, on that note, I don't really plan on selling any more action. Sorry, guys. It's just like, it's just so much of a headache, you know. Like,
Yeah.
I remember when I cashed, like, because I let people buy small pieces, I had to pay out like 40 people, you know. So it becomes a big headache, especially like, I have the money, I want to gamble, you know. I want to take my shot at semi-retirement, you know. Banking a nice tournament and peeling off $500,000 it would be life changing for me, you know.
Plus, it's great to own yourself in these tournaments.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So Keith and I are always sort of pushing Panda to open up his own YouTube channel, because he's definitely a great player. And
Nope, definitely not.
but my question for you, John, is: do you have any friendly advice for us YouTubers that are in the beginning stage of our YouTube career or our vlogging career? Any friendly advice?
So first of all, I would say that you should just like enjoy the process, because if you're not enjoying making YouTube videos, so it sounds like Pan doesn't enjoy making YouTube videos. So asking him to make a YouTube video is probably not going to be fun for him. And if he does manage to put one together, he's not going to make a second one, because at the end of the day, we do things that are fun for us and that we're passionate about. So I wouldn't even start doing it unless you feel passionate about it. It sounds like you guys do have like some passion for poker, making content. So if you get past that point and you like doing it, I would say my number one advice is to not care what people think and post the hands, because the losing sessions are actually sessions that are viewed more, and people want to relate to you. People want to understand that you're a human being. People want to see the humility in you. If you're just posting wins all the time and picking and choosing which sessions you post, people won't like feel connected to you. They'll be like, this guy always wins. Like, that's not me. Like, I don't always win. I want to like watch someone where like I feel like they're on a similar skill level in me as me. I want to see how they played the hands. And so yeah, just be completely honest with the hands that you put out there. If you don't know what you should have done in a spot, say, I'm not sure what I should have done in this spot. You know, this is the choice that I made, but I'm not sure if it's the right choice. People will comment and they will say what they think your choice is. Then all of a sudden you're building engagement, you know? And secondly, people want to see the hands. You got to show them the hands. So don't spend too much time on the stuff that I show, like the drone shots and stuff, because I've built an audience. So like I have a little bit more leeway with, you know, showing the stuff that I want to show. When you don't have as big of an audience, just get straight into the hands and show who you really are. Show the people who the real poker Edward is, the real Keith is, you know.
That's good advice right there. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I just never put a video together. I actually don't
Yeah.
even know how to edit. So
Do you have
Yeah,
Final Cut
it's
Pro?
a big learning curve. Like the first time you do it, you might actually have fun doing it though. That's the thing, is like, you know, the first time you do it, it might take you 10 hours to put together a really bad video. But then you're like, okay, I think I can put together a bad video in 8 hours next time. And then you're
Right.
like, oh, I think I can put together a pretty good video in 8 hours. And it's just like a sliding scale, you know?
And if you watch the video where we do the asking the agent bit, people are definitely saying that you're awesome and that you're an
oh
asset to the
gosh,
video.
I
So
cringe. I still cringe on that one.
no, it's awesome.
There's a number of different cringing moments in both of you guys' channels. So
Right.
Definitely.
So Johnny, Panda and I did a dance routine on the top of a parking garage in Atlantic City. I think that's the first video I'm going to post on TikTok.
oh gosh. Yeah, William Hong
Nice.
2.0.
That's the beautiful thing about TikTok, is like you don't need an audience to have a TikTok that people will watch. Like the algorithm just picks it up sometimes and shows it to people. Yeah, I don't know if you guys caught that. My internet was like breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, it went in and out, but I think I got the gist
Yeah, I
of it.
was just saying sometimes like TikTok will just fast track a TikTok for no reason, even if you have no followers.
I'm going to give it a try.
Yeah.
TikTok it is. TikTok it is.
But Johnny, do you work on your vlog right after a session?
It depends. Usually, so I take notes in the session, and I have all the notes in my Apple Notepad on my phone. I also film the hands with my phone.
Sure.
Just lean the phone up against the chips.
Mhm.
And a lot of times, what I used to do is I used to just watch back the footage and narrate it as I was watching it. But I found myself to like talk too much and explain too much. So what I started doing was I would just look through the notes, and now I write the script. I like write it out, and then I narrate it afterwards. I like narrating in the moment sometimes because it makes the editing easier later on. But usually I take a couple days and then I write the script and then I narrate it and then I put together the video. It usually takes me about a week turnaround, sometimes two.
Okay, and you edit everything yourself, obviously.
Yeah, so up until now, I've always edited everything myself, but I'm looking to, so Patrick Curran, I don't know if you know who that is. He's the Live at the Bike editor.
Oh.
He left Live at the Bike, so he has some free time and he wants to help me. So he's gonna help me with my videos, which should help
awesome.
me put out more content.
Yeah, and since you mentioned Live at the Bike, I saw you play at Stones. What's your favorite stream to play on, and how has playing in the stream game impacted your channel?
I don't really have a favorite stream. I do like the higher production quality one. So Live at the Bike has been a really amazing one. But I've played on Poker Go, I believe is what it was. It was in in Las Vegas. Poker After Dark. I played on Poker After Dark, which was streamed, and the production quality was absolutely insane. being on that set in the aria, you know, obviously being on Poker After Dark in general is like insane, because I remember growing up watching that when I, you know, first started playing poker and seeing, you know, Phil Locke and Tom Dwan and Phil Ivey and Daniel Negreanu playing on the show and thinking like, wow, that's insane. And then to have the chance to play on the show, it was definitely surreal. So I would say that that's my most favorite moment on a stream. I also have a moment that I played on a produced WPT cash game that has yet to make it to the street, which will be my first time being on network television, or it might be on like Fox. It might be on, I'm not sure which channel it's going to be on, but it's going to be on wherever the WPT is on. Hasn't aired yet. And I win the biggest pot that I've ever won on that show. So I'm looking forward to that one coming out.
Wow. And
Okay.
I know you won a couple five bigger pots, so
Yeah. So that was also
if that one's bigger.
it was my biggest winning session ever too. I won $33,000 in one session. It was just like, you
Jeez.
know, it was a huge session for me.
How big a game are you playing? What's your largest stakes do you play at?
So that game was a 50-100 game with a 100 ante,
So what you buying for there?
25,000.
Jeez.
And I didn't have all my own action.
Okay.
I had a backer for that game, so I
Mhm.
had 60% of my action. So still like 33%. I'm sorry, 60% of 33,000 is still a huge come up for me in one day.
Sure.
20K, you know, not
Yeah,
bad.
yeah.
Cool. Do you play any PLO?
I don't know. So here's the thing: is that because I've started to really branch out in other areas of my life and really take an interest in other things, content creation, NFTs. Like I've been getting into the NBA Top Shot market. It doesn't really leave a lot of time for me to work on PLO, because I know if I go down that road, I'm gonna want to like go all in, and I'm gonna want to study, and I'm gonna want to really, you know, I don't want to be the fish in the game. You know, I want to know as much as I can. So when I'm studying poker, it's no limit hold'em. I haven't budgeted any time for PLO.
Are there any books or sites to recommend
Yeah,
for
so
Hold'em?
I would say that in terms of books, the only book that I can really recommend that I've personally put some time into is Applications of No Limit Hold'em Advanced Version by Matthew Janda. And that it's pretty timeless. It's been out for at least 4 years, I want to say, maybe
Mhm.
5. But it was at the beginning of like solvers, so it has some like solver type information in there. So I think and it's an easy read too. So
Okay.
Applications of No Limit Hold'em Advanced by
Mhm.
Matthew Janda. It's the second version that he wrote. And then in terms of poker content, I would say that there are so many training sites now. Like all the information is there if people want it. So you
Mhm.
really just have to digest, like you have to figure out which type of information you digest the best. Like, are you a more visual guy? If you're a more visual guy, you
Yeah.
might prefer, and you get bored with like dense content, you might prefer
Yes.
Solve for Why, because
Mhm.
they do a pretty good job of mixing entertainment with education. Or you might just want to focus on YouTube vlogs, you know, because there's a lot of good information in the YouTube vlogs too.
Mhm.
If you are like a good like if you absorb a lot of like dense material, then you might want to go with something like Raise Your Edge. You know, they have like charts in there, and like they have like all of the things that you would want to know from a technical standpoint. But it's like a little bit dense of more dense material.
Okay.
um so I mean the information is there. It's just figuring out how you learn best,
Mhm.
and you can't go wrong. Pick one, and once you pick one, go all in with that one that you're on.
Because for now, I've just been working on getting I guess my vlog situated aesthetically, but
Mhm.
now it's time to step up the poker analysis, the hand analysis, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, definitely. I mean, we work on one thing at a time, you know.
Mhm. I haven't heard from Panda in a long time.
I
You have
know.
anything
I try to
anything to
let you guys
say?
talk. Speaking of South of Why, the Poker Out Loud vlogger season, obviously they it's still ongoing and things like that. Um, the production is just awesome, and I know we talked to Rampage about it. I want to talk to you about your perspective and stuff like that because I know, I think you mentioned very beginning of the first episode, like normally you don't put on a headphone, you actually like a social player, and you're forced into like a not out of your comfort zone, so to speak, but like obviously you have to listen to music, and then you kind of have to adapt to like a slower game and less like interaction and everything. Just wanted you to talk about what you think of it, and how like would you do again if Berkey asked you again?
Yeah. So first of all, I think that the concept is amazing. It's revolutionary just to be able to hear people, articulate their thoughts in real time. And everybody in that game like knew what they were doing. So it was not a game that I would like normally sign up for, like it's not a game that there was a lot of soft spots. Rampage was the least experienced player at the table, but he's still aggressive. He still goes for it. Like he's no pushover. So
Oh,
um it was fun, and I was really focused because I wanted to bring my A game, because at the end of the day, like sure, I'm not really competitive when it comes to YouTube. Like I know I recognize that when Rampage does well, it means that I'm probably going to do well because people that watch his vlog might find my vlog after watching his. So, I want the Trooper to do well. I want all these guys to do well in their vlogs. But when we're sitting at the same poker table and there's pride on the line, like I don't want to make any mistakes. I want to play my best game. I want to show up because we got our little clicks in there. We got the Vibe Squad in the chat rooting for me. We got the Rampages guys rooting for him. I want to play to the best of my ability. So I definitely like brought my A game, my aggressive game, and I did not take it easy on anyone. And I played pretty well. I had a couple spots where I went for it and it worked out in one of the spots really well. They're calling it the hand of the season. It hasn't been it
haven't
hasn't been
released yet
shown
though.
on Solve for Why yet, but if you guys haven't seen the hand, it's a real doozy. And yeah, it's causing a lot of chatter. When it actually airs, it'll be talked about a lot.
Looking forward to that. And speaking of playing your A game, I actually don't know if you remember. I actually played with you one hand in Maryland Live, and I think it was the meetup game with Mimi and Owen, and I think you were there, Trevor was there, Matt was there.
Do you remember the hand? I don't remember the hand because I was actually
I remember I can remember off my head.
I was operating
There
on
was
no sleep that day.
and it was very impressive hand that you play. So you opened under the gun to 20. I believe we were playing 3-5. Um, we got three caller, and I'm one of the caller in the big blind. Flop was Jack Deuce Deuce. Check to you see bet. The spot of the table call, and I check raise. Um, you didn't even think about it that long. And you actually folded pocket aces.
Yes, I do remember this.
And what the sick part was, the turn was gonna be an ace.
The turn was an ace. I do remember this.
I know you're gonna remember it once I mention to you. And the spot and I got it all in, I believe, on the turn, and I have Jack Deuce. It was a big blind special,
Yeah.
obviously. But talk
Yeah.
about just an impressive fold because um, being recreational myself, I
Yeah.
play like once a month. I don't fold aces. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
drive 3-4 hours to the casino, play a couple hours, and maybe get aces like one every couple sessions. I it's hard for me to fold things like aces, but
I
like,
I remember that hand. I remember it's slightly different. I
okay,
think that there was a. I checked the flop, and you bet, and someone raised, or I bet you raised and someone raised. So there was pretty significant action.
it was more action than that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's correct.
yeah.
That's correct.
So I just remember thinking that someone had a deuce,
Right.
and like, and that it was, pretty apparent that I was beat. So I pretty much folded for the minimum. I think I lost like $20 in that
You lost
hand
20
or
bucks in that
something.
hand, and I
Yeah,
still remember that, and that was very impressive.
yeah. And then I remember when you guys got it all in, and I was like, you guys are never gonna believe what I had. I was like, I had aces, and everybody looks at the board and they see an ace on the board because an ace came on the turn,
Yep.
and they're like, there's no way. But since I was the last person to muck, my hand
You
was on the
pulled it
top
out.
of the my hand was on the top of the muck. I just grabbed the two cards on the top of the muck and I flipped them over and it was pocket aces.
I remember
Yeah.
that.
That's
That was
insane.
super impressive. So speaking, and the fact that you tell me you didn't even sleep that much, it makes it even more impressive to stay on your A game.
There's a few times in poker where you kind of just know that people aren't bluffing, and I don't remember the exact dynamics in play, but in that moment I just knew that people weren't bluffing. So now you just have to figure out if somebody is overvaluing a hand, and I just didn't think that somebody was in that spot.
Yeah. Sorry to take the interview. It wasn't an interview. It was bragging about me beating Johnny.
No,
Go ahead.
actually, I've kind of been known for big laydowns,
Yep.
so and they've all been pretty much right. I
Yep.
can't
Your
remember
king's hand
making a
against
big
Ken
laydown.
in Live with the
Holy
Bite.
kings versus aces pre-flop. I folded a flopped flush versus Brad Owen on the flop. Out on Live at the Bike, I flopped the flush. He flopped the flush, and I just folded it on the flop. And then I also folded a top set on the river against Uncle Abe when he went backdoor flush. And I folded pocket kings in another scenario in a 10-20 game that was kind of like a big spot. The other guy had turned a flush in a 4-bet pot. So this hand on Solve for Why is one of the first times that I'm not going to be known for folding. I'm going to be known for making a crazy all-in bluff.
Looking forward to it.
So
Yes,
I'm
I'm
looking forward to
excited.
not being like the folder guy, and for once being the all-in bluff guy.
but Johnny, I think it's still impressive. I want to reiterate that is how hard is it to fold big hands at times, for a
Yeah,
lot of the recreational players. And I like I mentioned earlier, like people drive a couple hours to the casino, they finally get into the game. They it's not often they see big hands all the time, as we
yeah,
know. We fold around, like, we play an hour, we probably folded like 90% of our hands, maybe not that much, but you know what I mean. And once we get aces or whatever, it's very rare that we're gonna fold those. So
yeah.
it's
I mean,
very
I remember
impressive.
it clearly. You were in seat 7, I believe.
Yep, that's
Yeah,
right. And you were
yeah.
in the middle of the seat
I was in
5
the
or something.
5 seat. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. That was that was a crazy hand.
Out of all the questions and interviews that were for this particular thing, I hope that this hand that you guys were just discussing makes it on the vlog. So Keith, if you could work that in there, because I thought that was an amazing discussion.
It was.
Um,
But Pan, by any chance, did you have table footage of that I can use as B-roll?
No,
You didn't record that.
no. I was listen.
Unfortunately, I didn't record it either, which is why like I had to reach my hand into the muck to like pull the aces off, because I
Right,
knew that nobody was going to believe it because I
right.
didn't have it on my camera.
hmm And when I played with Panda and Trevor Savage at Maryland Live, Trevor folded the 4 that would have led to quads, and basically the same type of deal.
Yeah, but so making these big folds is not something that I would recommend for, the guy that drives 2 hours and has pocket aces and things like that.
Mhm.
Like that's kind of more advanced, like when you work your way down like the, how experienced you are with poker. I would focus on, like, if you're really trying to take the next step in your poker game, I would focus on value betting rivers, because that's like the biggest thing that I see between a solid player and a good player. The solid players are less likely to get that extra little value on the river, and the good players are consistently squeezing out an extra, even if it's a 1-2 game, squeezing out an extra $60 on the river, because river sizings are usually the biggest size on the board. Can you, like, an extra $60 during an hour of play? That's going to add to your hourly so much. But so often I see people just get happy to get to the river and just because they're scared, just like check it back.
And value bet like
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah. No fancy play syndrome. Just value bet your hands.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's been about an hour on here. And
Yeah, we've been
I like to
pretty good
think
talk.
that you have so many things going on, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. You're a married man. Ed's got a family. I've got a family. So, is there anything before we wrap up that you'd like to share with our audience?
I would say that people can always play my meetup game. You guys can always play my meetup game. It runs once a week. Obviously, if anybody's in Texas, I'm going to Texas in April. Going to Texas again in May. Coming to Boston Billiards Memorial Day weekend, and I'm starting a it's like a bar league. It's going to be a no rake tournament where half of the money goes to the prize pool and half of the money gets held over for a grand prize, which is going to be sending someone to the WSOP to play the main event
What?
and staying at my place. So, yeah, so that's something that's starting in the next couple of weeks, and it's going to be fun because somebody that's in my crew, we're going to send to the main event to play, a tournament that they probably only dreamed of playing. So, yeah, that'll be something. If people are interested in that, that'll be something that'll be
That
fun.
bar thing, that's a West Coast thing where you're based?
No, it's going to be on. It's going to be on online on Club
Online.
GG. Yeah.
Hey, I was gonna ask you what platform you play with your crew.
Well, with my crew, we tried Club GG, but people didn't like the software as much. So we switched back to Poker Bros, but it's kind of expensive to run games on Poker Bros.
Mm.
So for this no rake thing, we wanted to do it on a cheaper platform. So we're doing the no rake bar league. We're calling it the bar league, the Vibes Bar League. We're going to do that on Club GG so that we can keep the costs as low as possible.
Mhm. Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah. Hope to see you guys in the weekly. I think it's going to be like a Wednesday night. You don't need to be on Zoom for that. It's just going to be a point system. So every week it's going to be like a $50 buy-in. 25 goes to the prize pool. 25 gets held over for the grand prize. And then, oh, by the way, if you don't win the grand prize, but you accumulate enough points through the season, you get a piece of the person that we send to the main event. So you're still you
Still
still got
vested.
action in the main event.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Crazy.
Wow. I like the way your mind works.
That's a great idea.
I feel like it'll be good for content too,
Sure.
Always thinking of ways to have fun new content ideas for the channel. And this was one of them.
Okay.
Awesome.
Anything else, fellas, before we let Mr. Vibes go?
I just wanted to reach out there to you, Johnny, and say thank you so much for being receptive. Thank you so much for taking the time to have this interview with us. We're all huge fans. We're all rooting for you, and just basically thank you so much for taking the time out of your day for this. We really
thank you guys so
appreciate it.
much for having me. I mean, you guys have been great to talk to. I love the vibe of you guys. So this was easy. Anytime, man.
Awesome.
Ooh. All right, fellas, I'm going to wrap it up here. I'll speak to you guys, after this. Johnny, I'm going to post this. Ed or Pan will reach out to you, let you know the details. And once again, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you,
Thank you,
Johnny.
guys.
Thank you,
Take care.
Johnny.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.